So what is a combat pistol? Well, it's something that's going to be proven, reliable, durable, something you know you can depend on, something that's accurate, and something that does not compromise performance for convenience. In fact, a combat pistol would be something like this gun right here, Sig P239, and that's what we're going to talk about today on Hipster Tactical. Sig P239, a lot to talk about today, and I think the crux of that discussion centers around frame of reference. So what is frame of reference? In marketing, we talk about that a lot. It's the lens or the context through which a consumer, in the case of marketing, evaluates, looks at, and understands a particular product or a particular brand. So I think that's important when we're talking about the P239 because I think a lot of people get it wrong. You know, of course, these things are all subjective, but in my opinion, this gun people see it in the wrong light. People see it in the wrong frame of reference. And when you read reviews or watch reviews of the P239, it always gets compared to the newer subcompact guns like, you know, the P365, the new Smith & Wesson Shield, even the other single stack ones like the older Shield or the XDS, the PPS, all those guns. In this day and age, when you can carry one of those things, which has the same capacity or more, why would you carry a gun that is bigger and weighs more and is arguably not as just convenient to carry? So the P239 often gets just kind of tossed out like it's not relevant anymore, like it's outdated, like it's obsolete, and I guess in some sense Sig Sauer kind of thought the same thing because they discontinued it, I think in, I don't know, it was 2017, 2018, it was a few years ago, it was fairly recent. But I want you to change your frame of reference when you consider the P239. When you consider it in context of a gun like this, a full-size duty pistol like a Beretta 92, or this is a Sig P220, but a P226, which is just like this, but in 9mm instead of 45. Think about the advantages and the benefits and the things that are really great about these guns, and obviously the reliability, the durability, but also the shootability. You know, I really appreciate the way a Beretta 92 shoots. It's so stable, it's so accurate, the recoil's so low, it's just very pleasant. Like I said, it doesn't make any compromises in terms of its performance to save weight or for any other features. It's there to shoot, it's there to shoot well. The same with, you know, a P226, Browning high power, all those service-oriented combat pistols. Seeing the P239 in terms of those pistols, that changes everything, because this offers really almost the same experience, or a similar experience, an experience within the same vein as you'll get with one of those pistols in this small package. So okay, it's not as small or compact or light as a P365, but when you see it in terms of a P226, the experience that you're going to get, the benefits that you're going to get from it, this is, you know, a lot more convenient to carry than a P226. So that's where we're talking about flipping your frame of reference. I'll ask you to look at this as a service pistol, a smaller service pistol, a combat pistol. So another kind of frame of reference thing with the P239 is it often gets compared to a Glock 19. The claim is that the Glock 19 is about the same size, it's lighter, it holds almost twice as much ammunition. why would you carry this thing? So I'll tell you why I carry it. One, it's smaller. It is smaller. The slide is significantly shorter. It's no thicker than a Glock 19. I think the Sig slides and the Glock 19, the Glock slides are roughly the same in terms of thickness. And the big thing that you get with the P239 is this nice thin grip. If you conceal carry, the grip is honestly the biggest challenge and the biggest thing you have to look out for when it comes to printing and just and comfort when it comes to carry. You don't want the grip poking into you. You don't want it sticking out, poking through your shirt. But this thing, I'm going to point the gun at myself, but over my shoulder, there we go. But look how thin it is. And that is as thin as, a lot of polymer frame guns. It's rare to find a gun with old school grip panels like this that's this narrow, and that makes such a difference when you're carrying this thing. And I carry appendix usually right around 1230, 1245, that area, and this grip just lays very flat against my body, and it conceals very well. And I do carry other guns. One gun I like to carry a lot is my Sig P220. I carry that in the winter a lot. It's surprisingly thin. I think, SIGs, they take a lot of heat for being bulky and fat, and they're really not, except for the P229. The legacy P229 had a thicker slide than other SIGs, but SIGs have reasonably thin slides. I never have to worry about the Sig P239 printing. It's always like, no matter what I'm doing, I can conceal this thing, I can carry it. Like I said, in the winter, sometimes I will rock the P220, and but the grip's a little too long, so it will print under a t-shirt. So that's more of a winter carry gun, but it's kind of nice to carry a big 45 sometimes. And back to capacity, this gun only has 8 rounds, which looking at the current market, you'd think is carrying only 8 rounds or 9 rounds with one in the chamber. You'd think that's tantamount to suicide, but 9 rounds of 9mm is nothing to undervalue in terms of its defensive capability. I don't feel like I need 15 rounds to defend myself when I'm going for a walk in Covington, Kentucky. It's not something that I think makes a difference in its ability to be a self-defense gun, and even a combat gun, especially when I can carry extra magazines. If I do find myself in a Miami Vice scene in a protracted gunfight, carry a couple extra mags, I can keep shooting if I run out of my 9 rounds that I carry in the gun, and that is highly, highly unlikely. So for me, the advantage that the thin grip provides is well worth the loss in rounds. All things being equal, if I could have this exact same gun and have it carry 15 rounds, would I prefer that? Sure, I guess, but things are never equal, and things are not equal. So given that disparity, I will choose the thinner gripped gun that is easier to carry. To that point, I just don't shoot a Glock 19 very well. In terms of its shootability, the P239 is great. I shoot this gun about as accurately as I shoot anything.
Daddy, what?
Some of the groups that you saw are just incredible. I mean, this gun shoots so well. And, even if all the discussion about the size and weight and everything, put that all aside, I think this gun still makes a case for itself on accuracy alone. It's, I've heard anecdotally, this is something I've read, I don't know 100% if it's true, but that the P239 from a mechanical standpoint is among the most accurate of SIGs. And that's because it has full-length frame rails. They're not broken or at least that's the that's the hypothesis that we're talking about. Like a P228, P229, P226, the double stack SIGs, they have a broken frame rail. It doesn't go all the way through. I don't know if that makes a difference. It doesn't seem like it would, but I will say that this gun's as accurate as anything I've shot, be it a Browning high power, Beretta 92, whatever. And this gun can and will outshoot all of them. It's really, really a great shooting gun. It feels great. You know, it's fairly heavy. It's fairly well built. It's all metal. That's one of the complaints about it, that it's so heavy. But again, for that weight, you get a feel and a shooting experience that's more in line with a classic combat-oriented duty pistol. And that's where I think the P239 fits. The one thing that is an advantage for me, because I have small hands, is just the trigger reach. And of all the DASA guns I have, the P239 offers the best trigger reach. In single action, you know, it's easy to reach the trigger, but in double action, I can get out in front of the trigger more so than I can on any of the other DASA automatics that I have. And it really allows me to shoot the double action well in the P239. In terms of the trigger pull itself, you know, the single action's good. Nice crisp break. The reset on SIGs, I feel, is real good. It gives you kind of a little, you feel it, you hear it, and it kind of gives your finger just a touch of a push back to the reset point. In double action, it's nice. It's smooth. It's not quite as good as my favorite double action triggers on the Smith & Wesson 3rd generations. It's not quite that good. I feel it's a little bit more controllable than what's on the Berettas. There's maybe a touch of over travel. There's maybe a touch more stacking than what you find on the Smith & Wesson. But regardless, I can reach it. So the fact that I'm completely out in front of it, completely controlling it, you know, that gun doesn't move when I break the double action trigger, and that's one reason I shoot it well. And for a carry gun, I think that's important. And while this thing does shoot great, it's as accurate as anything, it's not quite as stable and planted as a bigger service pistol. Because it's a single stack, sometimes single stacks can be a bit more challenging because you have less lateral support. You have less meat to push against with your support hand. And while this thing can outshoot just about anything else I've got, there's been times where it's frustrated me. If I've had too much coffee, if I haven't shot in a while, if I'm off with the P239, I'll shoot it a little bit left. It's not as bad on the P239 as with some single stacks. If you know kind of DASA single stacks, you probably know the Smith & Wesson 3913. That thing's just a slab-sided, the grip is just a slab-sided, very thin grip. And to me, I had one, and it was hard to control because I couldn't get any feedback from my support hand on it. And the P239 managed to still be super thin, yet have enough of a contour that you've got something to hold on to. So the recoil is, you know, maybe a little more than what you're going to find on a full-size gun like a 226 or a 92, but it's not bad. One thing you can do with the P239 is put different grips on it. This is my P239 in 357 Sig, which is kind of a different animal, and I think kind of fills a different role, and maybe is worth its own review. But this has the Carl Nil grips on it from Germany, and they feel incredible. They've got a little bit more of a contour on them, just a touch of, I don't even know if I call it a palm swell, but it's just a little bit more of a contour to give you something more to grab onto. And it's especially helpful in you know, getting your support hand, you know, getting more traction with your support hand. I do feel like you give up a little bit of the flat profile of the grip that's so helpful when you're carrying the gun, but for 357 Sig, I feel like I need a bit more than just the plastic stock grips can offer in terms of traction. So that's why I have these on my P239 and 357 Sig. You can also get Hogue makes them. They make wood grips, but they also make G10 grips. And I've had those on my P239, and you get great traction from G10. It has that nice aggressive texture, which is cool, but they're more just slab-sided, and I don't feel like, well, you don't get as much contour, which for me, I can control it better when I have more contour on the sides. So get one of these, check out the Carl Mill grips. You can find them on Gumbroker sometimes. They're expensive. They're like $175, but hey, if cost was your only concern, you wouldn't be buying a P239 anyway. So you check them out. They're worth it. They feel great. Also, one other thing that, in comparing the 9mm P239s with the 357 Sig and 40 caliber P239s, they have different slides. The frame is the same, the grip is the same, the mag well is a little different. You won't be able to fit the 40 357 mags in the 9mm, but you could fit the 9mm mags in the 40 357 frame. But the main difference is the slide. So the slide is beefier on the 357 Sig and 40 caliber. The 40 caliber and 357 Sig use the same slide. And the thing is, it's not actually wider. They're the same thickness. For years, I thought the 40 cal and 357 Sig P239 was like, oh, it's thicker. I wouldn't want that. It's going to be harder to carry, but it's not. It's just higher. So if you look, I'll put these straight up to each other. It's probably hard to tell, but the barrel to barrel, but the 357 Sig is just a little bit higher. Yeah, you can see it's a bit higher, and that's how they add the extra mass to the slide to get it to handle the higher pressure rounds. And you'll notice that the back, it doesn't have the kind of cutout that the 9mm has. So that's probably another way they retain a bit more mass in the thicker slide P239s. But if you're looking for a carry gun that, you know, maybe you don't need something as small as a P365 or you know, Smith & Wesson Shield or any of those guns nowadays. You don't mind carrying something a little bigger that's still, you know, fully concealable. It's going to disappear. Consider one of these, and unfortunately they're not made anymore, so you'd have to buy one used. But these are out there. They're fairly common, and like everything, they've gone up in price. But you know, you could get a used one, I think, for $600, something like that. I've had this one, I think, since 2016, and in all that time, I don't know if I've probably put more rounds through this P239 than any other gun I've had, and it's never had a problem. One time, I think it was like an underloaded round. It sounded kind of anemic, and it didn't quite eject it all the way. But, you know, that was because the round was underloaded, not through any fault of the gun. But other than that, I've never had any kind of issue with this gun. What else? Yeah, I have 3 of these things, so I've kind of invested in this platform for carry because I think it's such a good gun for what I'm looking for in terms of, you know, a small, capable, highly shootable pistol that is also double action, single action, but is super reliable and, you know, tried and true, tested in the field, and just something that is really, as the title suggests, a combat pistol in a smaller form factor. Thank you for watching. Again, check out the written review in the link, and if you like beats like the one I have in the intro, check out the link to my SoundCloud. So I'm Matt, this is Hipster Tactical, and we'll